Is there different strategies that you should follow if you have a local business versus an online business, let's say? The answer is yes. There are different methods that you could be implementing, but what I found is that the foundational aspects, they are all the same. In order to answer this question best, what I wanted to do was bring on an expert when it comes to social media marketing from a lead generation and content creation side of things for local businesses. She is fantastic at really just building this community around your business. So I want to bring on Hannah, who actually we seem to have quite similar stories and even journeys as she's going through growing her business right now. So it was kind of a really, really interesting conversation for me. I felt like I was looking back at myself 6 years ago, 7 years ago, basically in the beginning stages, but it was a fantastic, fantastic conversation with Hannah, really listening to how she recommends you show up from a local business perspective because I am focused mainly on online businesses. So if you have any questions or any curiosities in terms of how do you actually market a local business, this one is for you. But if you don't have a local business, trust me, you will still learn a lot of tips and knowledge of how you should be showing up online from a social media standpoint for 2024. So let's bring Hannah right on. Hey, Hannah, welcome to the More Than Social podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to dive into all things marketing with you because I know we can talk a lot just based on what we both do. Before we get there, why don't you give our listeners a quick insight into who you are, what you do, and I would love for you to explain how you got onto this journey in the first place.
Okay, so my name's Hannah Corbacio. I started HC Digital Agency, which is a digital marketing agency, I guess over 2 years ago ish. I have not checked in a while. So I'll say a little over 2 years. So, how it got started is kind of a long story, but I'll break it up so it's quick. But so I originally went to school to be an occupational therapist, but in school I was running a fitness online business. It was making like $100 a month. But so I was doing that. And then when I graduated, I worked a normal therapy job for like 6 months and then left it right away. So the goal was to kind of start this like fitness therapy business. And I did that for a bit. And then I left that gym to try to do it fully online. And then I hired a business coach. And that business coach, the goal was to teach me how to have an online business. And that went really well. And then I ended up also working for that company. And then I was like their coach. I was really unqualified for this position, but this is a multi-million dollar company. And I was like the one coaching them on social media marketing twice a week. I was doing their like Instagram audits. And then I also was doing sales calls. So it was kind of crazy, but really exciting. So that gave me a lot of experience for doing social media marketing, not just for myself, but also for other businesses and other industries. And then after about like 8-ish months, there was some internal issues with the business and some ethical issues. So I left there and basically just decided to do the same thing I was doing for them, but for myself.
I actually love it. And as you're
Right.
talking, I'm like, we have a kind of a similar story. 8 years ago, well, over 8 years ago, I started my business, but I was working for another agency
Mhm.
and I was there behind the scenes, like secret weapon. That's what they would call me for. And I would do all like the Facebook and Instagram ads, funnels, emails. I'd run the whole back end. They would just do all the sales and everything on the front end.
Mhm.
Same thing, I went to school for marketing, but I didn't have any experience in the online world, but that is what allowed me to kind of learn. So very similar to you. And then I went off on my own, and at that point, I don't know about you, but for me, I felt like, "Okay, what direction am I gonna go? Am I gonna go keep the route, the kind of what I've been doing and just hopefully it works out for myself and I can get the leads and sales myself? Or do I go back to corporate or wherever your case? Do you go back to the occupational therapist or
Right.
what?" So it was interesting that you said that because
Yeah.
it's cool how things just land in your lap when it's the right time.
Yeah, everyone from the outside perspective, when people were and I've heard what everyone says, and they're like, "How did she possibly get from like a therapist to where she is now? Like, how could she know anything about marketing?" But if you were kind of there for like the day to day, honestly, like everything just like fell into place. There was no like drastic changes. It was just like opportunities were kind of presenting themselves, and I just kind of ran with it. And because of the fitness business and posting online so much, naturally business owners and friends that I had kind of like networked with were reaching out and they were like, "How are you doing this? Can you help me do it with my business? Like, how do you get leads from social media?" So it just really happened like super naturally and organically. And then, yeah, here we are.
I love it, I love it. Now 2 years later, here you are, so that's awesome, congrats. I love that story, but I'm curious, as you jumped into your own business aspect of it, what did you have to go through? Like, any struggles or any pain points? Like, what was hard for you? Because you said it's falling naturally, but
Yeah,
business isn't
so
always that fun.
gonna kind of sound annoying, but it grew really fast on its own, which was amazing. So the initial start was it went really well. I say luckily, but I really did hustle really hard. So it grew really fast. So the initial part was actually not the struggle. It was like I hit this goal I had set, I brought on these clients, and then it was a big struggle because what I did was I charged extremely little for my services. So all of a
Mhm,
sudden I had like 15 clients, but the amount of money I was making was good. I hit this goal, but the amount of time I was putting in and the stress I was feeling was absolutely not adding up. So it was like we grew fast, and then I really hit this struggle point where I was like, I physically can't scale like this, and I'm gonna lose it. Also, like from a personal perspective, I couldn't like go on vacations or take breaks or get sick comfortably because myself at the time was putting out like 80 posts a week. And I
jeez.
was behind, so I was doing them all the day up. So, like, every day I would have, like, 12 posts to create, and that was, like
Wow.
it was chaos. So, it was
Yeah.
reversed from, like, I feel like what you typically experience as a business, but
Well, and I feel a lot of people go through that, like, as they're growing, they're just like, "Hustle, hustle, hustle, hustle," like, let's just
yeah.
grow, and then all of a sudden it's like, "Ah, I don't have, the systems, or I don't have the team, or I don't have this, but or I didn't price it right," and it's just like, I feel like so many people can relate to that, so I even understand where you came from. In order to price yourself effectively so that you could have either more time freedom or take on less clients and make more keep on the same clients, but still make it, I'm gonna say, more worth it, even
Mhm.
though it's not time, I still feel like is more worth it. What did you have to either realize, or what shifts did you have to make in your business to even increase pricing? I'm assuming you're increased your pricing now.
Yes, we increased pricing,
Okay.
and then we decided to offer some other services because even with growing a team so primarily what we do is social media management, but even with that, I don't have this big desire to have 40 social media clients and like 3 employees that run it for me. That's not really
Mhm,
kind of like a goal of mine. I kind of want to keep it small. Right now I have one girl that really primarily does our social media. So it was kind of a mix of like I want to lower the amount of clients that we have while making more money, of course. And I don't really want to grow that outside of that because I like being involved. I feel like it's important to kind of see the day to day. So I then, in order to grow, I had to bring on other services basically to kind of like
mhm.
grow in the way I wanted to. So it was very confusing.
It's a confusing, and I mean, as you're scaling even now, as you keep growing, you're always gonna have those peaks and valleys, and that's the fun, but also the bad part of entrepreneurship. It's always the up and down, but always keeping in the back of your mind, like, kinda where you came from, I feel like is gonna just keep you motivated to keep going, and it's fun as you go through it.
Well,
Now, with a team, so how many of you guys are on your team now?
we have like three and a half. One's
3
kind
and a
of
half, so part-time?
contracted for projects. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then but you obviously started just, like, with yourself, and you were managing all those 15 clients, right?
Yes.
Cool. So, from a team perspective, just out of curiosity, how did you find growing a team?
I hate it.
Why?
I don't know, and I very much like to do my own thing. I'm not
Mhm,
good at, like, checking in with people, telling people what I do. So, one of these team members is my husband. I forced him to come in against his will. He is a website designer, and we were always getting asked about that, so I forced him, and now he likes it, I think. We're growing it well together. But even with him, he just asks a normal question like, "Oh, what's on the agenda for today?" And I'm like, "Don't worry about it, like, I'm working." Every day I'm like, "Work?" And he's like, "Okay, but, like, what does that mean?" But I just kinda like to do my thing. So,
mhm,
running a team is not really, like, this thing I love to do. So, I've really kind of set this goal of I have these numbers I wanna hit in this business I wanna create, but I'm not really willing to do it with more than, like, 4 of us. And it's
mhm,
really possible with the online space and how things can kind of grow, but I've kind of, like, developed this team. I have people that work with me that are very independent. I could give them their tasks and I could step away because being involved day to day, overseeing them is just not my thing. Like these big corporations where they have like 100 employees, I'm like, that sounds miserable to me. That is not
mhm.
my goal. So Yeah, it was kinda like finding the right people where if I'm interviewing someone, I'm like, "How independent are you?" Because I have some people that I work with, I'll go days without even speaking to them, like, they have their tasks, they execute, and then we communicate when we need to, and
Mhm.
that's kinda how I roll because other than that, I'm not good at that.
I totally get it. I honestly feel like I'm talking to myself 6 years ago because my husband works for me full time now too. Even that's a whole other conversation on its own, working with your partner, but I get it. It's I when I hire people and when I first started hiring people, it was I needed one to vibe with them, but I'm like, "I can't hold your hand." Like, I don't have time.
Yeah.
If I need to hold your hand, like, I just gonna get this done faster myself, which, I mean, both of us saying this, guys, if you're listening, like, may not be the right mentality, but that's just the way that it's kinda gone for me and now Hannah, which is very interesting, but I get it. And when you're in the online space, you don't need to have someone sitting beside you all the time. Like, with my team, it's you have a task, I don't care what time you get it done, I'm sure you're the same, just get it done when it needs to be done,
Mhm.
which is the fun aspect of it. Okay, can we talk quickly about working with your husband?
It's good. It, of course,
Yeah.
has good side and bad side. I feel like at this current moment in time, we're in a really good space where it's really exciting. We're growing together. But
Mhm,
then, of course, there are days where, like, we literally want to murder each other. So, yeah, it kind of depends on the week. But overall, it's exciting. Like, even in our inner circle with, like, friends and family, like, no one really cares that much in a loving way, but it's like,
mhm,
"This is my baby, this is what I love to do," so it's kind of fun to actually have someone that you, like, understands it, knows the day to day, and we could, like, kind of talk about it together and be excited together because otherwise, I don't really have people that I can do that with, but
mhm.
then, yeah, of course, there are days where, like, we're gonna murder each other.
Yep, I get that too. It's like I remember during COVID when one, you couldn't leave your house whatsoever, and we were working on the business together, and it's like, I couldn't do it. We were in a small apartment. I was like, I'm gonna kill you. Like, that came off really creepy, but you know what I mean. Some people can't do it, and some people say to me like, I could never work with my husband. And it's like, yes, you have to learn for us, we had to learn roles, and like you said, like, my business is my baby, your business is your baby. They're just kind of coming in into it. So it's just like we still had to learn roles and responsibilities and even how to separate business and personal life. That was a big struggle that we had to figure out too.
Yeah, for sure. We are kind of like total opposites in some ways. So, like, for example, we have an office space, but I never go to it. That's
Mhm,
like now just become his. Like, I can work from home, he can go there. So, we're very separate in that ways. But also, I feel like too, it was kind of tricky. Was I started the business by myself, and
mhm,
I offered to him from day one. I was like, "Hey, come on in. It's gonna be great." And he wasn't really interested yet. So I had already kind of built this thing that he then came into. So I feel like that kind of added a little like tricky layer. Whereas I feel like if we started it from the start, then it would be slightly different. But
mhm.
yeah, then kind of bringing him on, and then also like how does the website design fit in our overall goal of what we're doing, what we're providing our clients. So it was kind of really tricky at the start, but I feel like we're getting better with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice that he has his own, like, expertise, like, whereas my husband, he's, like, I do the whole system, but he's, like, inside the systems with me, whereas your husband kind of if you just get a client for websites, like, he can kinda manage it, you don't necessarily have to be in it if you don't want to be, like, maybe from the strategy side of things you are. Really, I honestly didn't know we had such a similar dynamic right now, which is blowing my mind over here, Hannah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about social media for a bit because you said that it kind of like fell naturally into your lap because you were doing it for the fitness business, but you're also doing it for that coaching company. When it came to social media, even 2 years ago versus now, like things have obviously changed a lot. But what do you think are like the top three things that people need to know to generate leads off social media?
Yeah. So also one thing I want to say was when I was working for myself and working with that company, the whole target audience was online business owners. But when I
Mhm,
grew my business, it naturally grew with local business owners. So that has really become our niche. But I really feel like they're very two separate things. So it was almost like I had to take a step back and really learn something totally new because I was like, the way this works, the metrics we're tracking, the goals are really very different.
mhm,
So that kind of was like a little bit of a struggle when I was going out on my own. But with the local business owners, like the main things that we're really kind of trying to work on is okay, who is your target audience? And this works for both local and online, but who is the main people that we're trying to speak to with your content? Because 9 times out of 10, when we work with these local business owners, they're extremely broad. So they'll say, they'll be in real estate and they'll say, we're our target audience is homeowners, but that is so super broad. So it's kind of getting really specific on who you're trying to attract and then making sure all of your content is speaking right to those people. So we want to kind of create this aha moment that when they see your post, they read your caption, they're thinking, that's exactly what we need. That's exactly what I'm looking for. And then the third element that I feel like is unique to the local business owners is we need everything to really kind of be relevant to their local community. How can we connect you with your local community, integrate your content with your local marketing, which adds a little bit of a different twist that you don't have with the online side, but we want to kind of use things that are really unique to your community. What's going to get people around your community talking and sharing the word and things like that. So how do we relate to them and kind of integrate that with everything else? I feel like is an added layer.
So, from a community side of things in local business, can you give us a couple examples of what you mean by speaking to the local community and making them talk, essentially?
Yeah, so I was doing like a reel today on like Super Bowl commercials and how we can kind of integrate it. So there was one I was referencing, and what they basically did was they used like a shared experience that everyone watching that ad would kind of relate to. Like we've all seen it was a Friends reference. We've all seen Friends. We get the Friends reference. So we can all kind of watch that and be like, oh, that's a shared experience. We get the joke. So then
Mhm,
what I was kind of doing with one of my clients is like, let's use that same mindset. Like, what's something unique to this community? So for example, we live by like the Yingling Brewery, which is like a popular beer. I feel like it's more East Coast, and I don't know if it's in Canada, but it's a really big beer name. So that's something
yeah.
that it's literally created down the street from us, and it's like America's oldest brewery. So like, how can we do fun things like that that's unique to this community that people outside of the area might not know about? But when you watch it here, you're like, oh my gosh, like that's I'm born and raised here. I get it. Like it's funny. Like I like the play on words that you're doing. I like the way you've kind of done a collaboration with them. So it's like finding those
Mm.
unique things that you can relate to the people that live here and integrate that into your marketing because it adds a fun layer and it helps people really kind of resonate with your content a little bit better.
Okay, so it's using landmarks. Would that be like a really big one to just use landmarks within your local community?
Yeah, it's such an easy way to like do a fun twist on your marketing because it's a lot of the clients we work with have a lot of like service-based businesses. A lot are kind of not the most exciting world. Like we work with like HVAC technicians and things like that. So it's like, let's find these fun twists that we can add that also are kind of unique to your specific audience that you're targeting.
Mhm. So then what did you do differently with online businesses specifically that wasn't just focused on the local communities?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're an online business owner, really all of your sales are coming from online, 100%. Whereas with our local business owners, that might not be the case. So, for example, I just had a consultation call with a winery this morning that's a local client, and they have a lot of like pop up booths like vendor events that they go to, so
Mhm.
and that's a huge driver of clients for them. So then what we were talking was like strategies of, okay, well, if that's how things work, then what we need to do is marketing on social media to get people to realize that, okay, they're going to be at this event. If I'm there and I've been interested in trying their product, I should go check it out. What a great opportunity. And then also vice versa is how can we drive people that are coming to your booth to your social media accounts or to your email list? So it's kind of like
Mm.
a whole different marketing scheme where you're not solely relying on online sales. Social media is more of like an integrated web in all of your other marketing. So how can we really kind of integrate that? And if you're going to networking events, how can we then drive people to and from with social media? If you have a billboard up in your community, how can we use that to get more people to follow you on social media? So it's kind of like integrating all of those things together because social media is a bigger piece of the puzzle. They might not necessarily come from social media directly, but it'll play a role in how we kind of convert and drive that lead.
Yeah, it's like everyone or not everyone, but I hear people say like, okay, they're just focusing 100% of their attention on social media, but it's like that's one piece of the puzzle. Like everything needs to kind of collaborate together. Well, we saw it last year when Instagram went down for a couple days? Whenever that happened and people were like they're freaking out because like my business just disappeared. But it's like, okay, if it's one piece of the puzzle, yes, it's really, really important. We can both agree that, but it's not the only piece. It's just like how can you get everything to connect like a big puzzle piece? So I love how you said that. Now, in terms of you mentioned that people need to get super clear on who they're talking to and make sure that all your content is speaking to that specific person.
Mhm.
How do you guys figure out what to say? How do you figure out like how to keep your content entertaining or refreshed or how do you just keep coming up with new content all the time?
Yeah, it's hard, but easiest trick that I always tell our clients is whatever people are telling you in person or on the phone. So, someone comes into your storefront, what questions are they asking you? Like, are they confused as to what all you offer? Like, maybe it's a coffee shop and they're confused as to, do you also have tea? Like, what kind of fancy drinks do you have? Can I order online? Like, whatever those questions are, we can assume that majority of the people have those same questions. So we can use that to come up with more post ideas to create more clarity in the content. So anytime you have a sales call, anytime you're talking to a current customer, anytime someone comes into your store or I don't know, picks up the phone, whatever, what are they saying to you? Because all of that are content ideas and things that we can be integrating. Because the more we can create this clarity through your content, the less questions people have, the easier it is to convert a sale. So that of course is like the number one thing because we want to make sure we're really speaking to those clients in a way that's like, that's the exact question I had. And it's like create that aha moment. So I feel like pairing that with also fun trends. So like how we can use whatever's trending, fun things. Like I this morning I've seen like a million memes with Taylor Swift and Blake Lively like talking to each other. So it's like,
Mhm.
okay, let's use this fun meme to like make it relevant to your specific business. And that kind of always keeps things fun and trendy because otherwise you're just kind of doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. So then in terms of like value-based content, like people will do like 3 tips to do this or here's how to make a recipe. Like from a local business standpoint, do you still recommend people do that type of stuff?
Yes and no. So, like
Okay.
value-based business, as long as it's not super educational. So we always say that educational content doesn't necessarily sell. It just you might get a lot of views, you might get a lot of followers, and people might binge that content to learn from you, but it's not activating them to want to buy from you or work from you. So we do it in a way that it's kind of like selling the I can't think of my words right now. Selling the how, not the what.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Mm,
Am I
selling the what, not the how.
Why not? Yes, the how is they have to work with you or buy from you. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so we kind of do it in a way that we want them to kind of, like, realize that there's a gap in their understanding in some way, but how they actually solve that problem is they work with you. So, yeah and no, as long as it's value-based in a way that's going to push more sales. Because otherwise, like, 3 tips or 3 suggestions, like, people might like it and engage with it, but it's not really necessarily going to push more sales.
Mhm. And then what is the balance between, like, I'm gonna say educating versus selling versus answering questions about your business? Like, do you have, like, a specific balance that you like to do?
So I feel like the main thing when it comes to selling is I don't necessarily love super salesy content. So I like content that feels a lot more natural and conversational. And then if we can push people to watch your stories, then there's where we can be super salesy every single day. So I kind of like the idea like get more eyeballs on your content through like fun videos and engaging captions. And then we really kind of sell them into your product or services through your stories. It's
Mhm.
super salesy content, and it's really hard to do that with local businesses. A lot of the posts and captions are kind of like 30-second elevator pitches. It's very like, well, here's this product, here's why you should buy it. But then the kind of twist is like, well, how can we do that in a really fun way that people don't feel like they're being sold to because they're just going to scroll. They're not going to want to follow your account. They're not going to want to read your captions because it just feels like an elevator pitch every time they read it. So it's like, let's do a fun, lighthearted twist and then make it be more salesy in the stories where we kind of have that more nurtured audience.
Amazing. And now, is there a rule of thumb between photos versus videos that you find is working right now? Like, I know this changes often, but, like, right now in today's moment, is there what's kind of the balance that you're doing?
Yeah. So for a while, we were like videos every single day. And Instagram claims that they've changed the algorithm a bit and photos are going to start performing better. I haven't seen that a ton. However, I did see a big drop in Reels views, but I
Mhm.
haven't seen like a huge spike in engagement and likes on photos. But we are still trying to do more of a mix. So we'll kind of do a 50-50 during the week, like a mix of videos and photos, and we're kind of testing it. But a lot of our clients are, yeah, I mean, the Reels are still outperforming the posts by far, even with kind of doing more of a mix. But they claim pictures are gonna be more important and more relevant with algorithms, so we are pushing it, but I don't know, I haven't seen a huge change yet.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it all comes down to testing. If what I've learned over the last 8 years, just test, 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 and see what works for you. So that's a question. Do you see that each account that you guys are managing performs differently?
Yeah, and also what we're seeing too, and I've been kinda doing this a lot in my content, is Facebook for our clients has been, like, the number 1 performing
Mhm.
platform. So a lot of our local business owners, we find that Facebook does the best for them. It's getting the most amount of views, engagement, and things like that. Their Facebook pages are growing really well. So a lot of people are thinking like, oh, Facebook is dead. But I always say 90% of our clients, that is the number one performing platform. But
Mhm.
other than that, yeah, it's kind of a mix. We have some clients on LinkedIn, we have some clients on Instagram. Everyone kind of does different. We have one client where we are still just doing reels every single day because they do so well. So like we're not going to change it really. We mix pictures in now and then, but the reels do so well. So we just kind of keep leveraging that. But yeah, everyone's kind of slightly different. It's kind of seeing like where your audience is hanging out on and then running those analytics to see what platforms are doing the best.
Yeah, it's actually funny that you mentioned that about Facebook because Facebook is not dead. Even when I look at analytics from running ads on Facebook versus Instagram, the majority of leads for a lot of our clients come through Facebook, and they're like, "Well, I only focus on Instagram, so don't even run on Facebook." And I'm like, "I'll let you know." But it's
Yeah.
it's surprising how many people are on Facebook. They just it's not in everyone's faces 24/7 like Instagram necessarily is. Like so it's definitely a platform like you said to figure out where your audience is living and then test it. But you mentioned posting every single day. Is that a strategy that you feel like everyone needs to be doing, or is there sometimes less? Like, what do you find there?
Yeah, I always say a rule of thumb is like 4 posts a week. It's kind of the good sweet spot where you're staying relevant enough. People are seeing your content, but also it's more realistic for a lot of people because 7 days a week, of course, is ideal and preferred because you're
Mhm,
getting content out every day. But some business owners are struggling with even just once a week. So if we can get to four, I feel like that's a pretty good sweet spot. With the only exception of TikTok. So we're trying to do a little bit more with TikTok. And there we are kind of pushing like the 3 posts a day, which is a lot of
mm,
content. But other than TikTok, I feel like 4 days a week is a pretty good sweet spot.
crazy. So 3 times a day on TikTok, 4 times a week on Instagram and Facebook? What do you
Yes.
say? Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. And then I see it all the like, I mean, every single person has different methods, so I like how you're really breaking it down.
Mhm.
But in terms of and we can stick with the whole local business examples, if someone is, let's just say, a photographer and they have their local studio, what is the rule of thumb, or what would you suggest if you heard, "I don't wanna show my face online?"
Yeah, everybody says it. It's the worst. Nobody wants to do it. I hate it watching myself back, listening to my voice. It's the worst, but it creates sales. It's so important. And a photographer is a good example because I feel like there's kind of this issue with local business owners where everyone is doing the exact same thing. So if you look at photography businesses, all of their accounts look exactly the same. If you look at real estate agents, all of their accounts look the same. Hairstylists, all their accounts look the same. So it's kind of like if you want people to work with you over your competitors, it's adding this extra layer that helps people really feel like they know you because that's what's going to help them choose you. If you're looking for a wedding photographer, you want someone you really kind of click with because they're going to spend the most special day of your life with you for like 8
Mhm.
hours. So you want someone you can really relate with and you feel like you know. And if you want to do that really easily and well, it's showing your face. So it helps people really connect, especially local business owners. Like that's how you're going to get more clients and drive more sales. If someone genuinely feels like they know you, like they're your friend and they've never even met you yet, they just follow you on social media. If they then come to your store to shop, they're going to be so much easier to convert or sell to because they already know you. They have this base foundation already. So it's horrible because I've been posting it. You could probably relate to this as well. Like every day I have like a memory pops up on Facebook of this post I created. And every day it's horrible. I'm like, it's so cringy every single time. It doesn't get better. However, it works and it creates sales. So it's so important.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that eventually you just stop caring. Like, yes, I'll look back at some of my posts, but like, how did anyone listen to this? Like, sometimes even this podcast, I'm like, I can't hear my own voice. Like, it's awful. So I appreciate you guys listening, but
Yeah.
it's like you always hate your own stuff. Like, other people are feeling the exact same way, but it's another thing that we just kind of have to do for a business if you want to leverage social media to its fullest for your business and really generate the leads or generate the sales in the way that it really can transform your business. You just
Mhm.
unfortunately just gotta do it at the end of the day. It's like the Nike slogan, "Just do it."
Yeah, it doesn't get better, but like you said, you just stop caring. It's always gonna be cringy, but you eventually like, I don't care. whatever, put it out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, so you mentioned you focus mostly on social media management and you work locally. So where are you, just in case some of our listeners are locally to you?
Yes, I'm in Pennsylvania, but when I say local business owners, we do a lot with our local community, but these can be local business owners anywhere in the world. It's kind of universal to like figuring out what works with your community and wherever. So a lot of our services are pretty much 100% online. So we can work with them wherever, but the local clients are nice because we obviously know this community really well. We also offer like brand shoots and content shoots, which of course we can only do if you're within a certain radius. But yeah, we can work
Mhm.
with people wherever.
Yeah. I love seeing your content when you go to the local businesses and you're like, "Oh, I'm eating this today or drinking this today or doing this today." It's fun. You gotta be a part of someone's business differently as if they're just online. Like, I mean, I've been working online for over 8 years and a lot of my clients are in the States or the UK and I don't actually get to see them. Yeah, Zoom is fine, but like if I can physically come see you, like give you a hug, that would be great.
Yeah, it's for sure. And from a social media management side, we have 2 options. So obviously, if you're a remote client, you can either provide us the content, or if you are a product-based business, you can send us the products and we can create the content. But for our local clients, it's just so much easier too if we can do those on-site shoots because then we can use that content to post. Whereas if you're managing a client's account and they're responsible for sending you the content, it just adds an extra layer that's really challenging.
Mhm.
So it does make our lives a lot easier too with local clients or if they're remote and product based, because then we could just create that content because it takes it off their plate. We can make sure everything's really cohesive and looks really well. So it's kind of a win win.
Amazing, I love that. And where could people find you? Besides the physical location, but like social media and or website?
Yes. Instagram, it was a new account. It's HC Digital Agency. Same thing with Facebook. TikTok, I think, is just my name, Hannah Corbacio, but I should double check. That is also a new account. We have all new accounts this year. We have a new Facebook page, new Instagram, new TikTok, new LinkedIn. So, yes.
Amazing. So, really really watch what you guys are doing because 'cause you're starting from scratch and people can kind of see that growth as you go through the years.
Yeah, yeah. It's frustrating to start over, but it'll be worth it for the long run.
Yeah, amazing. I cannot wait to see your growth, and I've been watching you over the last year or so, and it's great the content that you put out there. You always give me ideas as well. One question that I have for you, and I actually ask every guest that comes on, if you could give a fellow entrepreneur a piece of advice, doesn't have to be social media related whatsoever, just fellow advice or entrepreneurs, what would that advice be?
I don't know if this is going to make sense, but I
Throw
was
it at us.
okay. Insert yourself literally everywhere. Like, I don't know how to explain. Like, for example, we just moved back to this area and I was kind of obnoxious about like I was like just networking, speaking to everybody. And within like a month, I'm on like 4 boards in downtown area. I run the downtown social media accounts. And a month ago, I didn't know any of these people, but I've just like inserted myself everywhere. I'm like, okay, this meeting seems important. I'm going to go. This networking group seems good. I'm going to go. This gentleman is like running a lot of the stuff downtown. I want to kind of be involved. So I just went to his restaurant and I introduced myself. I kind of had a hunch that this one girl was running the social media accounts for downtown, but they were dead. So I just went into her coffee shop and asked her, I'm like, do you run this account? She was like, yeah. So I feel like insert yourself everywhere and your network is going to grow so fast and opportunities are really going to kind of present themselves. If you sit back and kind of hope for people to reach out for you, it's just not going to happen. So like everywhere I go, I'm kind of like, okay, who is kind of doing what I want to be doing and just go up to them, introduce yourself, be really friendly because the opportunities that come from it are pretty amazing.
Yeah, and it's people like they're so scared to promote themselves, but it's like you don't have to come out and say, "Hey, buy this service or buy this product." Just, "Hey, I'm Lisa," or "Hey, I'm Hannah." Like just connect with people. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, that's what people want is those connections.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not even like, we want local clients, of course, but we're not like super active in trying to get local clients to our town. I'm totally fine with getting more remote clients. But even just from a personal perspective, like I just like to be involved downtown. We have a really small town community. I want to kind of be involved. Like I saw this event the other day where when we first moved back, they had a soft launch opening, and everyone in the room, I was like, that's a lot of important people in our area. I want to get involved. And then 2 months later, there was a soft opening for a new business, and my husband and I got invited. I was like, yes, like we made it. Like, we just kind of like introduced ourselves, like, didn't try to be, like, pushy or salesy, but just wanted to kinda, like, be involved in the area. Of course, some business has come out of it, which is great, but, yeah,
Mhm.
kinda going with, like, a good intention, and people wanna connect, so it works.
I love it. I love the whole insert yourself. It's a good way to put it. It's great.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so, so much. I know I've just kind of picked your brain for the last half an hour or so. So I greatly appreciate you for coming on. And guys, if you need any social media help, Hannah, I see her. We have a mutual client, so I see her content all the time. She's great at what she does. I appreciate you sharing your story, all the ins and outs. And thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, this was fun.
Of course, I'll talk to you soon.